At the screen, is it visible?
Can you start the recording also, ma'am? So many are not here.
So many are not here. Every day this is the scenario, right? I think I've started the recording already. Okay. Uh, yeah, last class we were discussing with respect to how do we define the procedure in another way. So if you don't have to give the specific name to it, then how do we define it? So if you are giving a specific name to a procedure, then we can say that it will be stored in the symbol table so that we can use it whenever required, we can use it. But the same way, at the same time, if you don't want any procedure to be named, that means you just wanted it to be used for a specific purpose. I mean, like only in that particular procedure you have to be used, and then you don't want to use it for later purpose. Then you don't have to name it. So when you don't have to name it, how you can do the definition of the procedure? So if in such cases, what we can do is we can go with lambda. So you can we can name instead of giving a specific name using the defined, we can say it to be as lambda. So the syntax for lambda procedure we have already seen in the last class. That is, everything is within the parenthesis itself. So opening parenthesis before lambda, and within the parenthesis we have the parameters mentioned. All the formal parameters we can specify it. If it is a single parameter, you will have a single argument mentioned. By using the space, you can have as many arguments you want. You can mention it. Close the parenthesis for the arguments, and then you can mention the body part, and then close with respect to the lambda procedure. So we have seen how the same +4 procedure, which is named, how it has been interpreted by the interpreter. When you are giving a name, how it has been interpreted. So even though you are writing it to be as defined +4 with respect to one single argument, if you how the interpreter interprets this, it will be interpreting it to be as your variable name itself. But this variable name +4 is going to have a procedure as its value. So this is how this is the reason why we are able to use the same term define for defining a variable as well as a procedure, because the interpreter is interpreting in this format. So we have seen the example. So if you have one single argument, then we can mention within the parenthesis, we can mention one single argument, and we can have the body of the procedure given, and then you can close it. Now, if this procedure has to be executed, then what we have to do? Usually, this entire thing is a procedure. If this procedure has to be called means, you should have one more bracket open. Whatever required values you have to pass, and then you have to close it. Something like this. So lambda within this lambda procedure will be closed here. So this is the definition. The value for the x will be given outside the brackets. So this x will be getting the value to be as 5, and then it executes the body of the procedure. If you are having more than one argument, then how we can do it? You can see towards the right side where we are having the lambda procedure defined, where it has x, y, and z. So all the three arguments are being separated by using space operator. So with respect to space, you have separated x, y, and z. Now, whatever is this body of the procedure, whatever you have, that has been defined. We have closed the lambda procedure. Now, if you have to call this procedure, how we can call it? Outer one more parenthesis we have to open, where we have to pass the value for x, y, and z. Here also we have to give the values separated by using a space. So now we have given 1, 2, and 3. So x will be getting the value 1, y will be getting the value 2, z will be getting the value 3. And then the execution of the body part will happen. So this plus x, y square of z will be executed. at that point of time, and then it returns the value to be as 12. Okay. So hope you can write it for the cube procedure also. So cube z, which is nothing but multiplication of z, z, z. So if you are asked to write with respect to lambda procedure, how we can write it? We can write the cube procedure without any name if you want to write. Then we can write it to be as lambda. How many arguments we have? We have a single argument. So within the brackets, we will be writing the argument name. Here, if you want z, so we can mention it to be as z. And the body of the procedure will be multiplication of z, z, and z. Here we don't use any comma to be separated. Comma operator, we don't use it as a separator. Here we use space as a separator. Now, if you want this procedure to be called, then what we have to do is nothing but we just have to, this is your procedure. So, after this procedure, you will have another bracket opened where you can pass what is the first cube of 3. So cube of 3 means which is nothing but 3 will be written here, close the bracket. So now how it will be executed is z will be getting the value 3 and it executes the body of the procedure, which is multiplication of 3, 3, 3, and it returns the value accordingly. Okay. So keeping this, the same previous example, whatever we have written, that is the higher order procedure, whatever we have defined. So now what is the benefit here? Here we were defining pi term and pi nest for specifically for this pi sum procedure. So in these type of cases, we don't have to explicitly give any name to it. Instead, what we could do is we could directly write. So this procedure, pi term and pi next, we have defined by using lambda. So pi term is being defined here. If you see lambda of x, the body of the procedure, which is divided by 1.0 multiplication of x with plus x to close all the brackets. This is a second argument. The third as a third argument, which is next procedure. So instead of this next, pi next, we have defined a lambda procedure, lambda of x plus x4. After that, the fourth argument, which was b. So b came as such. Okay. So here we are just giving the definition. So if you see the procedure, I think in last class we have expanded the sum procedure and we have seen, right, how the execution happens, how it has been applied. Remember? Last class we have expanded the sum procedure and we have defined it, right? With respect to lambda. Nobody remembers?
By replacing this directly into the expression,
that some procedure when we call it by using some values a to be a sum 2 and b to be a sum 3, something like that. I think I have explained it, right?
Yes, ma'am. Plus lambda and so on so on.
Oh, okay. Then fine. So this is the advantage of if you are when we have this lambda procedure, we don't have to explicitly give any name. We can directly call the required procedures. And here as an arguments, we can directly pass the procedure itself as a name, as a value. So the same example, similar example, that is for the integral procedure, which we have already seen. This one we have already discussed with respect to the sequence, the series what it was generating. Based on this, we have defined this integral procedure where we had 4 arguments. And as a supporting procedure, we had add dx procedure, where it was just adding x with dx value. And as the body of, and we have closed this add dx. As the body of this integral procedure, we are calling this multiplication, and some procedure is getting called. Whatever content this, whatever summation this sum procedure is returning, that entire thing will be multiplied by dx. So instead of this, now what we could do, instead of this add dx, we can just write the lambda procedure. So lambda of x plus x dx. So here we are just passing the procedure. This will not be the procedure call. Here call will never happen. Call will happen only if you are having the values passed. Okay. One more doubt. If suppose if I don't want this variable x to be passed, I don't have, if I have a procedure without any arguments, how it will be? How it will be looking like? Say for the same addx itself, let's see for the same addx. Addx procedure without any arguments. So how it will be? We will just have define open the bracket, add dx. And we don't have any argument, so we can close the bracket here itself. We don't have to pass any arguments. That means if you are having, if you want to define a procedure without any arguments, then you just have to mention the name itself. No need to have space followed by the arguments. And the body part, you can define it, close the definition of it. Similarly, for the lambda, without any name, if you are defining, without arguments, how it will be? Lambda, sorry, lambda without arguments. So you will just have open bracket, close bracket. Then you can have the body of the procedure. Lambda will be closed here. Will this be, if this way, if you are defining, will it become like a procedure call? Without any arguments, if I define it something like this? Okay, so let's see. For this one, add dx. How do I call this add dx without any arguments means? How do I call it? How do we call a procedure? Usually, how do we call a procedure? With one argument means, say add dx, within bracket, you will write the name add dx. If you have the argument with space, you will be passing the value. Here we don't have the argument, so you will just close this bracket, right? So instead of this add dx, this is what we have. This is what we have, right? So wherever you are using this add dx, this lambda will be replaced. So how the procedure, if this without argument, if this procedure call should happen means, we should have one more bracket open and closed. So this becomes your procedure call for this lambda procedure without any arguments. Okay. Hope it is clear. You can just remember like this. If it is defined, you can just convert this with respect to the lambda procedure, add dx. So add dx, when you are converting it with respect to lambda procedure, then how it will be? Define add dx. Then you will be having lambda without any arguments, the entire body of it. So wherever you are using this add dx, there it will be replaced with this lambda procedure. So add dx without argument when you are calling, it will be like this. So if you replace this add dx with lambda of without argument, it will be, you will have an outer one more parenthesis mentioned. Let's see few more examples. If just discard it. Hope it is clear, visible. Is it visible? Say if I define lambda with one argument, lambda of x, say with the plus operator I will give plus x with some value 5. What is this? If I write something like this, is it a definition or is it a procedure call? Will there be any execution happening? We will not have any execution happen. This will be just definition, procedure definition. If I have to have the procedure call done, then what I have to do? I just have to take this, put everything within the bracket, one more bracket open. I've opened another bracket. I just gave some space just for you to show. Give a space, give the value to it, close it. So this becomes the procedure call. And this returns the value to be as x will be assigned with the value 4. 4 plus 5, 9 will be returned. Okay. Now, if I have to have two arguments mentioned, so how it will be written? I can write this to be as lambda x space y. Two arguments. So two arguments means x is one argument, space is separate as a separator, y is another argument. Close it. Plus x y. Closing. The body of my body of this lambda procedure is plus xy. I have closed the definition of it. So this is also procedure definition. Here execution will not happen. If the execution should happen means you have to have the contents written within another bracket open. So we can say it to be as say 4 and 5. So two arguments we have. So if it has to be executed, two values you have to pass. So x will be getting the value to be as 4, y will be getting the value to be as 5, and then it executes the body of the procedure, lambda procedure, which will be 4 plus 5, 9. Okay. So this becomes the procedure call. Next. Okay. So next term. I can even, instead of giving it in this way, I can even write it something like this. Lambda of x as a body of the procedure. I can even write it to be as. Okay. Before going for this, I can say define, say function with argument x. Define function with another argument y. I can say plus x y, close the sub procedure, I can come here, I can call the sub procedure with by passing 5. Close the definition of function. I can say fun of say 4. Right? So is this possible? This way of definition, define fun of x, define sub y. I have defined sub procedure. The definition of the sub procedure is nothing but plus of xy. Close the bracket. Inside the before I close this fun procedure, I call this sub procedure by passing the value for y, which is 5. So 5 will be assigned to this variable y. Okay. But before how this control will reach till here, for that I have to call this fun procedure from outside. So where x will be assigned with the value 4. So first fun procedure is getting called. X will be assigned with the value 4, and then this is the definition. So control will not come. It will come to the next step, which is nothing but sub of 5. So when you are calling this sub procedure, control reaches here by assigning the value y with value 5, and then the body of the sub procedure will be executed and it returns the value to be as 9. Okay. Same way, if I ask you to define it by using lambda, how you can define it? The same procedure. Using lambda, if you are defining this part, how we can define it? Lambda of x. For understanding purpose, I'm just putting tab. Another lambda with variable y as the body of this, which is plus x, y. Everything is separated by with respect to space. Okay. And now, what is happening here? I have to assign the value 5 for the variable y. How do I assign it? There are two ways of doing it. So if one thing is, if you want to see only the definition part, I just closed the lambda y procedure. If I put another bracket, I'm closing the lambda x also. Right? One way is I can write one bracket open. I'll put everything. Okay. I'll keep this entire procedure here. One bracket was opened, and if I say sum 6 and I'm closing it, what happens? Who will be getting the value 6? Will it be the variable x or will it be the variable y? Which procedure will get the value 6? Can someone try? Which variable will be getting the value 6? Will it be x or will it be y? I just tried this, whatever we have defined it towards the left side, that is the fun procedure and sub procedure, which had one single argument.
This x. No.
It will be x.
For y, we are
X
not calling anything.
For y, we haven't passed anything. So outer brackets, once we have assigned, and when we are passing the value, when we are mentioned the value 6, it will be nothing but it will be the lambda of x will be 1, which we are calling it. So x will be getting the value 6. So it will be now, what happens? It will just return lambda of y with plus 6y. So this is how it will be returning back. You will not get the value. You are just getting another procedure itself. You are not going to get any output as a value right now. If you want to get a value as an output, what we are supposed to do here, we are supposed to have one more bracket open. We should have one more bracket open, and we are supposed to have say 9. If this is how you have defined it, then what happens is, first you will be getting the x value assigned with the value 6. It returns this part, this lambda of y. Now lambda of y will be getting
Ma'am, we need not open one more brackets outside. Instead, in the inside lambda function only we can give 9. No, ma'am.
that is the other way of doing it. If you are writing it like this, then only the y will be assigned with the value 9, and you will be executing plus 6 with the 9. This is one way. If you, the other way, what you have specified is, I'll keep it here. Other way, how you are telling us this way, right? Instead of writing it something like this, what we are saying is, you can have another bracket open here. Define this lambda of y. Lambda is closed here. You can assign the value 9, and then you should have one more bracket close here. Now what is that?
Live feed again.
Live feed again.
After completing it, or you finish it, I'll come.
I'll finish it. By 11.
I'll be there.
Sorry. Sorry, students, I have. Okay. Yeah. But the problem with this way of definition is, if you are defining it something like this, then always you should be very much clear, like what should be the value which you have to pass. So you cannot make it to be as a generic one. So we usually don't write some procedures like this. Why? Because whenever you are defining it, usually the procedure calls will happen outside the definition of the procedures, right? So whenever we are doing the procedure calls, this is the way which we will be doing it usually. So the whatever we have, we will be usually giving it outside, so that the executions will happen in the proper way. If you know what should exactly happen, whenever you are having this, you want to say that always it should be always 9 or something like that. If you are specifically knowing it, then you can directly mention it. Otherwise, usually if you want to take each time you want to get the values from the user and it has to be applied separately, then we can't assign it in between, we can't do any modification. So how you will be then what is the other way of doing is, we can do it only the one which we have told in the beginning. This way only is possible. That is the reason why usually we will not take up in this way. But for output type of questions, you will be getting some output type of questions in this by giving different combinations of it. Hope it is clear. If you write something like this, then it will be first innermost brackets will be applied. So lambda of x, innermost bracket is having the higher priority, so innermost y would be getting the value to be as 9, and this returns plus x. We are still not having the value for x, 9. So here also you will be returning the procedure itself. If you have to get the value for x, then you will be giving the value to be as 6 outside like this. So that means if you are having something like this, 6, something like this. Then this is how it will be executed. Now you will be getting the value to be s plus 6 and then 9. Your final answer. Okay. So just wanted to highlight how with respect to few output type of questions with respect to lambda, how it will be called and how it can be executed. So with these examples, I think it is clear how to define a lambda procedure and how to call it. When we are calling it into, we have seen in two scenarios. When you are calling it in one way, how the execution happens. When you are doing it with respect to the second scenario, how it is executed. Okay, so let us move on. So that is with respect to lambda. So where we can use this lambda is nothing but if you have any procedures where you don't have to specify any a specific name to it, and still you want to have a procedure defined for higher order procedures and all. When you are using it, you can use this lambda procedure. Okay. So moving on to the next one. When you are defining a procedure, if you want any particular variables to be used within the procedure, then we can go with let. Okay. So say for example, we are having a expression given here. Say x multiplied by x plus xy whole square, y multiplied by 1 minus y plus 1 plus xy into 1 minus y. So this expression has been given. So instead of writing 1 plus xy, you would calculate this expression, and you might think of saving it in another variable. So when you are writing a procedure, inside the procedure, how we can define, how you can put a variable. So for whenever you go with inside the procedures and all, when you want to define a variables and all, then it is better to go with let. So let is also a procedure. So what is the difference is, here it will let you assign some values to a variable. So if you see the syntax, say let first variable. Say if you want a variable a, which should be assigned with the value 1 plus xy. So you can have the brackets open. The first variable a, the expression will be 1 plus xy. So you can write it in the prefix format. So it will be plus 1 multiplication of xy. Close the bracket. So that will be the first variable's one. If you want the second variable, then you can go with b, which is our second variable. So open the bracket again. B is my second variable. What is the expression? What you have to give? So either it can be an expression or it can be a value directly. So usually whenever you are saying using this let, it will be nothing but it will be used within within that particular procedure itself. So it will be like a local variable. So if you want to go with you make it to be as a local variable within the procedure, then you can go with let. After assigning all the variables, you have a bracket specifically for closing, saying that I have done with all the definitions of the variables. So once you close that, once you close this parenthesis, then you can how many other variables you want, you can define all the variables and then close the parenthesis. After that, you can mention the body of this let procedure and then you can close it. So it is like let, you can have mentioned the variable 1, which is having the value of this expression 1. Similarly, variable 2, which is going to have the value of the expression 2, and it goes on. So how many other variables you want, you can mention it. So once you finish giving all the variables, definition for all the variables, then you can close the definition part. That is the variable definition part, you can close it. After that comes the body of this let part. Once you mention the body of the let part, then you can close this let also. So this is the syntax for the let. So usually we go for defining, making it to be like a local variables. So local variables, whenever we say, it is nothing but it is within the procedure when you are when you want to use any particular variables. So say for example, if I define a variable of let, this is one example. So let opened one bracket, this outer bracket is for, this bracket is for saying that declare all the variables within this bracket. So I have to define all the variables, whichever I'm going to use. All the local variables, I can mention it within this bracket. So in this first example, if you see, we have a single variable, which is named to be as x, and it has been assigned with the value 3. And as the body of this procedure, we have, body of this let, we have plus x multiplication of x with 10 and closing of all the let till the let part. So what will be the value? Wherever we had this x mentioned, it will be replaced with a 3. And the higher priority is for the innermost parenthesis. So it will be 3 into 10, 30, 30 plus 3, 33. So you will end up having the result to be as 33 here. Okay. Now, moving on with another example where the let is same thing. Along with this, we are having outer one more plus and one more x mentioned here. So in this example, I'm saying if x equals to 5. So that means I am assuming that I have already done define x 5. And then comes this plus let all these things. Plus let body of this and then variable definition and then body of this question mark. Sorry, not question mark. X variable mentioned. Okay. So now what happens? So now it is how the execution is going to happen. So the one which I have said define x with 5, I'm considering it to be as a global variable. Within the let, whatever I'm saying, it is considered to be as a local variable. Okay. So as a global variable x, I am having the value 5. As a local variable x, the value assigned is 3. Now, inside this body of this let part, body of this let is closed where? It is closed here, right? This is my let closing parenthesis. So when I close this, what is the x value? What is this x? What will be the value for this x? It will be, it is within the let part. So within the let, if I am using the x, which value it will get? It will get the local value. So it will be nothing but it will be plus what the x is within the let part. So it will be replaced with 3 multiplication of again x which is inside the let. So it will be 3. The value is 10. Closing. Now we have one more outer x. Outer x is what? Outer x will be nothing but it is outside the let. So outside the let, can I access the local variable x, which is 3? We can't use it. So which variable I will be getting it? I will be getting the global variables value. So what is my global variables value? Which is 5. So it will be assigned with value 5. So now this will be your output. So it will be 3 into 10, 30, 30 plus 3, 33, 33 plus 5, 37. So your output will be nothing but 37. Sorry, 33 plus 5, 38. So this will be our output. Okay. So I'll stop with this. We'll continue. We'll see the example 3 in the next class and we'll see with respect to the lab in the next class. So tomorrow's class, when you are joining, join with in laptop. You join in laptop so that we can continue with the lab session. I have to report at one place by 11:30.